Exile on Main Street, right now on States and Kingdoms. Welcome to States and Kingdoms. Today we're talking about the Rolling Stones and their 1972 enormous triple, quadruple album, Exile on Main Street. I've been waiting for this one for a long time.
We recently found this. We recently bought this record, acquired it.
Right. Featured in a video.
Featured in a video.
Pickup video.
Asked people if they would like us to talk about it.
Did a poll.
People said, no, sir.
It was second place, right after REM.
Yeah. So, we figured we'd do this next. This is an interesting album to talk about. It's an interesting album to think about. Interesting album to listen to.
That's what I was going to say.
It's a heavy album to hold.
And a hard album. No.
It's true. I didn't put it into a playlist, but we have a whole bunch of Rolling Stones reviews from the Rolling Stones mono box set. Where is that? There it is.
You missed it.
From the Rolling Stones mono box set that we bought. And we have a whole bunch of videos about that and talking about the Rolling Stones and our history with the Rolling Stones. Not personal history,
right.
Of course.
We know them.
Just
we call them at home.
Just oral history.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to go into that here because it's neither the time.
It's not the place.
No, it actually is both of those things.
I will say that when I first wanted to get into the Rolling Stones, because they weren't a band that we listened to at home. I'm just saying this really fast. I will say that when I did decide to listen to the Rolling Stones and try them out, I started with this album, and I think that was a mistake.
Yeah, I think so too. The Rolling Stones are the only band, basically, that our father didn't listen to. Yeah. And that we really didn't listen to. The only 60s group, we were listening to so many other things. The Rolling Stones, we just didn't listen to them.
Yeah.
And because we were such huge Beatles fans, had a little bit of a prejudice about the Rolling Stones. We went into that in the other videos. Yeah. In any case,
we
didn't even realize that I had such a prejudice.
I didn't think I did because I'm so not prejudiced and I'm so open-minded.
Yeah. Sure. This is a long time ago. I'm talking about a long time ago. This isn't recent.
It's a good story, though.
It is. Thank you. This was the wrong album for you. It was very much, this is like the greatest rock and roll album. Mm-hmm. This is the one, you have to hear this. This is the best, blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, because of that, it was basically you went to this first.
I went right to it.
And you had not have done that.
Yeah, because it really did stall my Rolling Stones progress for a few years.
And there's a good reason for that, really. This has to do with you and your imperfections.
Yeah, this is all me.
Your lack of musical taste.
You can get all the hate comments can come to me.
No, they'll
leave Sean out of it. Address them to Dear Jenna. You suck.
No, but you never really listened to blues. You didn't listen. I listened to country music. I listened to. I went back to country swing. Yeah. I listened to, Delta blues. I listened to Chicago blues.
I've listened to mostly those
Blues
things through you, not so much first person.
Yeah, and I listened to a lot of course, 50s rock.
Again, that's my fault. That's on me.
No, I'm blaming you.
Yeah, that's all on me. It's all my fault.
Yeah.
This is all my fault.
So in a way, this album, and the Rolling Stones in general, wouldn't necessarily, because you're with the prog.
I know, I was in Progland.
You're listening to Genesis and Yes and, all that stuff. Yeah, Steely Dan and other things.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't apologize for any of that.
No, we wouldn't ask you to do that. Me and the viewers.
Now you're one of them.
Yes. Now I, Vigo, and the viewers shall rule the earth.
No, but yeah, I did start with this, and I think I was misled. I think I would have been better off starting with Let It Bleed, or...
Well, I think, honestly, I genuinely, if you have not, this is for younger people, maybe I haven't really listened to the Rolling Stones, I think there's a great deal to be said for starting just from the first album, as always, with anything.
Or, yes, just go from the beginning. Why
Listen
not?
in chronological order. You get a really great appreciation for what they do.
Yeah.
Just by listening to everything that they did in order.
Yeah, so I was lazy. I was also lazy.
This album makes me think of, brought this up maybe once or twice before, the time machine question. If anyone remembers, in the 1960 version of the Time Machine
movie.
Yeah, Rod Taylor takes 3 books back into the future with him
to basically restart civilization.
And the question is, which books would you have taken? And I'm sure he does discuss that with Mr. Ed
Judy
in
Blume.
most of the episodes.
Sorry.
Judy Blume. Anyway, I think about
Quimby age 8. Okay.
I think about that with records. Like, could you reconstruct if rock and roll was just gone, and you had to reconstruct rock and roll, and you can say American folk music, rock and roll. It's all tied together, obviously. Yeah. Which albums would you take? Which
it's
3?
A big question.
And it's just sort of interesting, and I think you could make an awfully fair argument that this should be one of them, or all of them.
Yeah. You know what? You don't need 3.
Yeah, right.
Just bring this.
It's 2 of them anyway.
Just bring this.
And that to me is, of course, something other people have said, and I suppose why this was reassessed after everyone gave it the raspberry in 1972, and then all of a sudden they're like, actually.
No, that is fascinating.
Come to think of it.
It's super fascinating. Like, at the time, when it was first released, it was generally panned, misunderstood, I guess, and then by the late 70s, it was already a complete turnaround, and it was being praised, and everyone was saying it was probably not only the Rolling Stones' greatest to that point,
but
one of the greatest of rock and roll.
And I am actually surprised that the critics like this. I'm even a little surprised sometimes that like Rolling Stones fans in general like this best over just Sticky Fingers, I would say. I suppose.
Because you could almost, the term
I'm not saying that I'm not making a judgment here. I'm just saying I'm surprised that they choose this as often because of certain things in this album. You would think, just the production alone, you would think would scare off enough people.
But also just the length of it in general and the seemingly lack of editing per se. What is the word that they always use for a lot of prog bands?
You mean editing?
Editing out the
songs,
editing of songs.
Right.
You could almost say self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Which is usually that's true. A bad word that is thrown around for a lengthy album.
And I don't necessarily think it is.
I don't either.
I don't think self-indulgent really is often such a bad thing, especially when you're dealing with great artists.
Well, also, you're talking about the Rolling Stones. They should be able to do whatever they want.
Well, not again. You. That's what we're saying. Yeah. So it's surprising that more don't see it in that light, and that the critics. And I'm just surprised because the Rolling Stones had. Well, honestly, we both really like their Satanic Majesty's Request. I know they don't really like it, and not everyone loves it. Between the Buttons is a great album. And then you just have, these fantastic album after album. So it's sort of interesting that, this one would be pointed to and I mean by critics, because critics are fickle beasts.
They sure are.
And I don't, it's interesting what they decide to point out. And to some extent with the regular Rolling Stones fan, I think, there are people that find this somewhat impenetrable, as you've talked about.
Yeah, I did.
And, it's really not that long, actually.
No, the actual running time is only 67 minutes. So when you look at it in those terms, it's really not that bad. And actually, the songs...
Not that bad.
The songs aren't even that long.
No.
I think the longest song is about 5 minutes.
Thank God.
5 minutes, 10 seconds, something like that. Most of the songs are not long at all, very digestible.
Yes, you don't sell this album very well.
I'm not trying to.
I know.
Everyone likes it already.
I know, it's true.
And I like it too. I've really said nothing so
you're
far.
Right. I don't like playing the favorite. This album sucks.
But... So a big thing that we wanted to talk about, And I think something that harmed my initial listening all those years back, which was on CD, is listening to it on vinyl is a completely different experience.
Different rhythm. Completely
different. And obviously this was the intended way to listen to it. When you look at it in terms of 4 sides, and it's broken down as 4 little collections of songs with pauses in between, it is a completely different experience.
It really is. It is different. And then you really do get the side 2, which is a very country acoustic. Side 3 is very gospel. Gospel-y. Yeah, there are things that if you do find it difficult to grab hold of things on this record, if you listen to it on vinyl, it's not difficult.
It's so different.
So that's something
it's remarkable.
That's one of the downsides of CDs that happens to a lot of records. Yeah. Where, obviously side 1 is supposed to end with this, and then side 2 begins, the song that begins side 2 is really almost like an opening track. It's a second opening track.
And on the CD, you lose all of that. And so there's a number of CDs where the middle is kind of just, it's really lost. It's a little bit of a mishmash.
It can be, especially with, we talk about XTC all the time. Listening to English Settlement, Oranges and Lemons,
Non-Such.
Well, particularly those two. Well, because we don't have Non-Such actually on vinyl yet,
right?
Because we've been looking for an actual one, but those two, that is a thing. On CD, there is
no break.
It's a difference in rhythm. It's just a difference in rhythm. Obviously, it's not longer, but it does make a difference. Yeah. When you have that pause between this song, and it sort of starts anew a little bit, and you can group the songs. You can use that as many people do, and I really obviously as they did. On the whole, I'll put it this way, but I love things that don't sound good. I love
dirty. Rough.
I love rock and roll that doesn't sound polished. It's something.
It doesn't bother me either.
Beggars Banquet. The Rolling Stones.
They do that scruff really good.
They do. It's something to really love about it, and this does sound like that. It's fantastic.
Not everything needs to be polished and produced to death. I like that sound too.
I like also. We were just talking about not being able to understand lyrics. We were just talking about Michael Stipe and not being able to understand lyrics and how we kind of like that. Well, on this record. Same kind of thing, and on this record in particular, you said it before, how you really just focus on like the raw emotion of his singing, and the words become like secondary because he's kind of buried in the mix. Mm-hmm. It's unusual.
Yeah.
For the Rolling Stones.
The whole thing is the whole album really is more of a feeling. It's like evocative of like different emotions and feelings, and it's at least when I listen to it, it's not so much a like thinking thing, like it's more just like a general like
I think that's exactly
vibe.
As it should be.
Yeah,
and that's why I think you really have to listen to this a lot, because it does have to sink in.
You definitely need to let it sink in.
There are people, maybe they love it immediately, like it clicks with them immediately, and then there are people. This is why you really do have to listen to things.
Yeah, and I always give things a good chance, and then you
take a break. Yeah. And give it another one.
Exactly. I never say no to anything musical. Another thing.
You hussy.
On that line of thought.
Yes.
With mixed singing, his voice is so incredible. And that is one thing that I definitely did not appreciate early on.
More than just his voice.
Well, of course. What are you talking about?
I'm not talking what you think.
Okay. No, but his vocals are just ridiculous. Like he has some voice, some style. I mean, when you take him for granted. I think I did, and I think a lot of people take him for granted.
Well, that's exactly the same for both of us, because I did take it for you. It's kind of fair. He's been around our entire lives.
Yes.
And more.
Yep.
And and the Rolling Stones are the biggest rock and roll band in the world. They have been
next to the Foo Fighters.
They have been for a really long time. Weezer. They have been for a really, really long time, of course. And you do take them for granted. And then, like I said, as big Beatles fans and all of that stuff,
that's our own
like a
stuff.
Little bit of, it was
through.
like a prejudice and whatnot. But when I was really listening to the Stones, it was actually Mick Jagger that I just realized.
Holy crap!
No, he is extraordinary.
Yeah, what a talent!
And his lyrics are extraordinary. I mean, like he really is an incredible musician.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Then it's like, well, duh.
Of course.
It's
like, of course.
The songs that he has written and the things that it's like, oh, I didn't know he wrote that.
Yeah.
Like, how stupid. Of course, I should have thought.
Yeah.
Anyway,
his singing
that
style
was a big. That
is
was
so
a big
taken
thing.
for granted. I mean, try and sing these songs. Try and do what he does.
No one can do what he does. Certainly not now. And the longer they go, I feel like the greater they get.
Mm.
That's unlike some, and this has nothing to do with this record. But just to say, the longer the Rolling Stones go on, I feel like they're just becoming more and more legendary.
Yeah.
Whereas some bands, it's not the case.
Because it's like, it becomes rote and like, there they are again, they're touring again.
Well, sometimes it's like, you'd be like, it's wonderful that you guys are out here, but maybe you could
take a little vacation.
You could stop. It's all right. It's fine. But they just keep going, and it's just becomes that much more.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Extraordinary. And I would love
to go see them.
Maybe they could come up north some ways, because we live nowhere like. But anyway, I still would not recommend this as a first record. Just because unless I absolutely if someone had just been listening to Link Ray and like the 3-track Shack stuff or. Which is also something that has a lot in common with this.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love Link Ray's early 70s records. And we talked about one of them. And I think I'm the only person that watched that video. I'm not sure if it's still up. I might have burned it.
I think it's still
in
up.
the digital fire.
Maybe. The
digital fires of hell.
Or if you like back circa like 2002 to 2006.
To now.
And now.
2002 to 2024.
Yeah.
Maybe then, but I still, I think this is something you do have to approach, having listened to the Rolling Stones already, and I think you should listen in chronological order. I do think it helps if you've listened to rock and roll and you've listened to some blues, listened to country music. Can't hurt. That way you can appreciate all the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I know, if nothing else, you still love Soul Survivor.
I still love Soul Survivor, and I love that it's the last song. Talking about the song sequence again, the final side being the shortest, 4 songs, which in a way are 4, I don't want to say more accessible songs, but they're a little more straightforward in their way, and maybe it's just because it's just like, song. It doesn't feel like the styles are shifting as much on those 4.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Yeah.
It's just nice little closing side and ending, Shine a Light and then going to Soul Survivor is just such a nice way to close out the album. I think Soul Survivor is one of the Stones' best songs. I just absolutely love it. It's great. So thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you think of Exile on Main Street in the comments. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to States and Kingdoms, and we will definitely see you next time.